Good evening, Fantasy Premier League managers, and today I am bringing you the Gameweek 7 Preview. I'm going to be doing one review video every month now instead of weekly, and what I'm going to be doing is picking a manager of the month each week. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to give away £10 to the manager of the month each week. So if you're a manager of the month, you need to have commented on one of the preview videos in the week, and you need to be subscribed, and I'll be giving away £10. All you need to do is watch the review video, find out if you've won, and then get in touch with me on one of my social media channels. Anyways, without further ado, let's jump into this week's fixtures. This week, the first fixture is going to be a 12:30 kickoff between Manchester United and Everton, and that means that your transfer deadline is going to be Saturday morning at 11 AM British Summer Time. One of the things that I do want to point out is whilst there are some lovely tasty fixtures, the Man U Everton game should have goals aplenty in it. We've got the likes of West Ham versus Brentford, Liverpool versus City is the last fixture of the week as well, is going to be a phenomenal fixture, and even Chelsea versus Southampton. But what I will say is, if I was you and if you haven't used your wildcard yet, I honestly wouldn't use it this week, because after this weekend's fixtures there's going to be an international break where there are no games for 2 weeks, and whilst teams like Chelsea have a lovely fixture run coming up, I would hold your wildcard in case there are any injuries over the international break. First things first, let's jump straight into my team, and we're going to start off with the keeper. Sanchez is between the posts again, as always. Like I said, he's probably my set and forget for the season, and given that Brighton are currently 6th in the table with the joint 4th best defensive record, having only conceded 5 goals, I'm going to keep my faith in him, even though they are playing a rejuvenated Arsenal squad who have just won 3 on the bounce and put 3 past Spurs. I'm hoping Sanchez can keep another clean sheet against Arsenal, but if he doesn't, I'm sure he's going to make a few saves, so I'm guessing between 4 to 6 points for Sanchez this week. Next up is going to be a defender that I've been recommending for the past few weeks, and again last week he paid dividends to anyone that had faith in what I had said and had faith in him, and that is going to be Fernando Marçal of Wolves. When I first recommended him, he popped up on the radar with 13-point banger against Watford, and he did drop off 2 weeks ago as Wolves were unexpectedly beaten by a Brentford side that are really setting the Premier League alight, and I'm sure gaining a few fans along the way. However, it was back to business as they beat Southampton 1-0 last week, and Marçal kept his clean sheet, picking up 6 points. I'm expecting the same this week and potentially an attacking return, so I'm looking for between 6 to 9 points from Marçal this week. Next up is a man who's currently flagged for potential injury, and he didn't feature in their midweek game against Porto, and that is Trent Alexander-Arnold. It's only a yellow flag, which means there's a 75% chance that he is going to play, but it is a groin injury, but I'm hoping resting midweek is going to have him back, and Klopp is definitely going to want him back for this game. First place Liverpool play host to second place Manchester City and current champions, and there's literally a point in it. Trent may not be able to keep a clean sheet here, but I'm looking for at least an assist in return, so I'm looking for a minimum of 4 points from Trent this week that could potentially go up to 9. So it's a big swing, but you've got to have that risk, and I'm not going to lie, based on my bench players who we're going to cover lately, I think he's more likely to score than what they are. Now, I mentioned earlier in the video that if you haven't used your wildcard, I would wait till game week 8, trying to keep the same mentality with my team. So next up is Reguilón, and Spurs have conceded 9 goals in their last 3 games. Reguilón isn't worth what he's currently valued at of 5.2 million. He's quite expensive for someone who's only returned 6 points in the last 3 game weeks, albeit he did get an attacking return against Arsenal as he registered the assist. Given they're playing Aston Villa next, who was showing to be a bit of a topsy-turvy team this season, I'm going to keep the faith in him for this week. However, he is definitely someone I'm looking to ship out. I'm hoping for 6 points from Reguilón this week, no more, no less. Next up is another mainstay in my team in Mohamed Salah. They are playing Manchester City, and he just bagged 2 goals in the midweek game against Porto before he was subbed off in the 70th minute. So he's going to be pretty well rested. He's probably still going to be hungry for more goals, and you know he's going to be in the hunt for the Golden Boot this season. His pace on the break could punish City, but it'll be interesting to see how many goals, if any, that he can get against them. I'm hoping for at least 1 goal from him, but I think he'll probably get booked as well, so I'm going to go for about 7 points from Salah this week. Next up on the team sheet is Demarai Gray. Charleston's still out injured. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is going to be due back this weekend potentially, but what kind of fitness level he's going to be at to face a Manchester United side, we're not sure. And other than Gray, I'm not too confident on where the goals are going to come for Everton. He is going to start for me this week, as there's always that potential, and United have shown against Villa and other teams that they are capable and culpable of conceding goals, and I'm going to hope that that does continue here for my sake in Demarai Gray. I do, however, think he'll probably pick up an assist this week, so I'm looking for 5 points from this man. Next week we have Said Benrahma. He's currently the second highest scoring midfielder, only second best to Mohamed Salah, which is quite a good feat considering he started the season at just 6 million. He's now up to 6.6 million, and if you're not on this player already, then it's really going to be costing you to get him in now. Next up, West Ham have Brentford, who have shown some defensive frailties, albeit it was to Liverpool with that thrilling 6-goal game last weekend. I'm hoping Benrahma can get some attacking returns here against them. I'm thinking a goal and an assist. So I'm going to go around 10 points for Benrahma. Next up is someone that I'm really debating transferring out now. If Rafinha wasn't pulled off the West Ham game early in the 68th minute, I probably would have already made the transfer from Adama Traore to Rafinha of Leeds. Now, Traore was also benched last week. He only got 19 minutes on the pitch, but I'm hoping with Raul Jimenez getting his goal, he's going to have some confidence back, and I'm hoping that's going to flow through the team. I've got 2 free transfers this week. I don't like wasting free transfers, so I'm thinking about tinkering the team a little bit, and Traore is one of the players listed to potentially leave. He's averaged 2 points per game, which isn't good enough at 6 million. I can get 4.5 million midfielder that can do that for me. They're up against a Newcastle side. They've conceded 14 goals in 6 games already this season, and they're sitting 17th. Now, whilst I've recommended players like Saint Maximin going forward, their backline just does not fill me with confidence. And I think that Traore and his pace and his strength can take advantage of this. I'm looking at 7 points from Traore this week, and if he gets no attack in return, he's going to be out of the team next week. Rafinha's going to be in. Moving up to my front line, we've got someone else who's going to be involved in the goals hopefully this weekend, and that is Antonio. He is the second highest point scorer in the entire Fantasy Premier League and the highest scoring forward at the moment. He picked up the red card against Southampton, which means he missed the Manchester United game. However, he came back and wasn't playing any games as he managed to score again against Leeds, which picked up West Ham a vital 3 points in the dying stages of that game. He's now valued at 8 million, which means if you haven't got this man when he was 7.5 million, you're now going to be paying $500,000 more than you would have at the start of the season to get him in. This man's got Brentford this week. We've already discussed about Said Benrahma. I think Antonio is going to get a goal this weekend as well, so I'm guessing a minimum of 6 points from Antonio. Last week I didn't take my own advice. I've always said never captain someone who plays in the first fixture of the week, because I put the armband on Ronaldo. It's the first week last week that I scored less than the average points across the Fantasy Premier League, and that's because I had Ronnie as captain. It's the first time he's blanked for United in the Premier League this season, so he got 2 points doubled to 4. I wasn't happy about that, and they feature again first this weekend. So I'm going to take my own advice this week. I'm not going to captain Ronaldo. I do think he will score. I think we're looking at a minimum of 6 points from him, potentially 10, but he's not my captain this week, as I think the next gentleman's going to do even better. Romelu Lukaku. He's up to 11.7 million. So all of my strikers have all increased in price. I forgot to mention this about Ronaldo. Ronaldo's up to 12.7 million. So he's already gone up 0.2 with the amount of managers that have brought him in. Lukaku is the 5th highest rated forward when it comes to influence, the 7th highest for creativity, and the 3rd highest for threat, giving him a 4th overall rating out of all strikers and a 14th overall rating out of all players in the Fantasy Premier League. Looking at his fixtures, he's got Southampton, Brentford, Norwich, Newcastle and Burnley. All 5 of these fixtures have been given a difficulty rating of 2. If he doesn't score goals in these games, then it's safe to say you probably don't want him for the rest of the season, but I guarantee you he will. I'm looking for a minimum of 2 goals, if not a goal and assist from him this week. So I'm going to put him around the minimum of 10 points, and that's why he's my captain for this week. Players on the bench are the same as always. We've got Still, who's the backup for Sanchez, so he's just going to sit there. I don't think he starts. And then my bench this week goes in this order. Billy Gilmour against Burnley, who did draw 2-2 to Leicester last weekend. He's missed the Everton game now and the Arsenal game. So I'm going to leave him on the bench. I don't think he's going to get more than 2 points, but that's why he's 4.5 million. He is supposed to be an enabler for the rest of the squad. It's players like Billy Gilmour that allow me to have the money that I have in my front line: Ronaldo, Lukaku, Antonio. I've benched Duffy this week just because I think Reguilón's more likely to get that clean sheet, and I don't want to double down with a double Brighton defence. I've already got Sanchez in goal, and I think that would be a big risk. And finally, last is the player that I transferred in last week, Livramento. Whilst I think he is a good right back and he can get potential attacking returns, I don't see Southampton turning up against the Chelsea side that are coming to play them. And like I said, I think Lukaku is going to bag a brace, and if Lukaku's getting a brace, Livramento's not getting many points. After this Chelsea game though, they do have a nice turn of fixtures as we look at Leeds, Burnley, Watford. These are the fixtures that I brought Livramento in for. So that's my team so far this week. What I'm going to do now is what I do each week, and I'm going to give you some players that I would recommend for this week and the upcoming weeks going forward. These are the players that I would keep my eye out for. Someone who I tipped a few weeks ago, and like Marcel, did well in the first week, not so well in the second, and did fantastically last week. So that is going to be Jose Sarr of Wolves. He showed up against Watford with a 6-pointer as he kept a clean sheet. Didn't do too well against Brentford, as not only did he concede 2 goals which cost him a point, he did also get booked as well, which was a -1. So he got 0 points last week, so he would have fallen off a few people's radars until last week, when not only did he keep a clean sheet and get the 3 bonus points, he actually managed to get an assist. It was his distribution skills that allowed Raul Jimenez to go past not 1 but 2 Southampton defenders before placing Cooley in the bottom corner for his first goal of the Premier League season. Those 3 points are a huge boost to him as well, which meant that Sarr finished the week on a whopping 14 points. I would recommend him for this week again, as they go up against a Newcastle side that are performing well in St Maximin, but are a team that I think Wolves can dominate. Also, his fixtures afterwards aren't the worst, as they come up against Aston Villa and Leeds. Definitely worth keeping an eye on. First defender that I'm going to recommend this week does play for a team that has an alternative cheaper option, and he missed their first 3 games of the season, but since coming into the side, Arsenal have managed to keep 2 clean sheets and concede 1, and that is Gabriel. Since he's returned, he kept 2 clean sheets, which gave him 8 points against Norwich and 7 against Burnley, and granted he did only pick up 2 points against Tottenham, but within those 3 game weeks he also picked up 3 bonus points. Spurs have been a lot more defensively resilient since he's been in the side than prior to it. Gabriel is also facing a Brighton team that in the last 4 game weeks have only managed 38 shots and 3 big chances. That puts them in the bottom 3 in the Premier League for chances created and shots. Not scary, especially if you're looking to pick up some points this week. So Gabriel is someone that I would keep an eye out for. Next up on my recommendation list is the premium option that just keeps getting more expensive, Marcos Alonso. People keep saying Chilwell will play, but he's not. It's been 6 weeks now. Alonso has played every minute bar 5 in the first game. And given they've got Southampton next, I'm sticking with this guy. I think he's going to get some big points and is one to look out for. If you don't have him in your team, I think he's just going to get more expensive if he performs against Southampton. And when we come to talk about the wildcard next week, this is someone that I'm definitely going to be recommending you get in your squad. Unless, of course, Chilwell starts this week. Next up on my list is someone that I'm only recommending if you're playing your wildcard next week, because his fixture after this week isn't the best, as they face Man City away. However, if you can rotate them in your team, I think it's a matter of time before they fix things. So that's going to be Matthew Loughton from Burnley. They've got Norwich this week. We all know about Norwich. They're bottom of the table for a reason. They've only scored 2 goals. And Burnley, who are normally very defensively resilient, haven't managed to keep a clean sheet this season. Matty Loughton is only 4.4 million, so it's easy to rotate him in and out of your squad if you want to. They do have City in game week 8, but then it is worth noting in 9 and 10 they face Southampton and Brentford before going to Chelsea. Then the fixtures again, they have 4 fixtures in a row that are rated 2 difficulty or 3 difficulty. The reason I'm recommending Loughton over Taylor is because Loughton is the 16th most influential, the 12th most creative out of all of the defenders, which is a lot better than could be said for Taylor. The first midfielder that I'm going to recommend this week is someone that probably hasn't been on many of your radars, and that is Yuri Tielemans of Leicester City. His underlying statistics over the last couple of game weeks show that he has really improved since the opening 4 game weeks. He's had 10 shots, which are more than any other midfielder in the Fantasy Premier League. He's also created 7 chances, which is the 3rd most created in the last 2 weeks as well. It's also worth noting that they're coming up against a Crystal Palace side that have struggled to keep their opponents from scoring. Tielemans is only in 4.4% of teams as well, which means that if he does haul, you'll be getting a big green arrow potentially, because not many other managers are going to have him in the team. At 6.4 million, he doesn't break the bank, and he comes in as alternatives to people like Adama Traore, Rafinha, Sarr, these kind of players in the same price bracket that have also been performing. It is worth noting as well that Tielemans has picked up 2 assists in the past 2 game weeks too. The next man is a recommendation that I've already spoken about, someone I'm thinking about transferring in, and that is Rafinha of Leeds. Now Leeds currently sit 18th in the table and haven't got a win, but this midfielder has picked up 3 goals for them in the last 6 games already this season, and he's also quite influential and creative for Leeds, so it's definitely someone worth thinking about. In the next 9 game weeks, he has 6 fixtures that have been rated a difficulty of 2 and 3 fixtures that have been rated a difficulty of 3. This fella may go and fly for Brazil. And we all saw what happened on the last international break. Players are going to have to quarantine when returning. If he does go and play for Brazil in the international break and it isn't agreed upon that he can return early or that he doesn't have to quarantine, he may not play in game week 8. So what I'm going to do is bring you an alternative, someone that's actually playing Rafinha this week, and that is Ismail Assar. He's picked up 3 goals in the last 2 game weeks. He's the 3rd most influential and the 3rd most threatening midfielder in the Fantasy Premier League at the moment. He's 6.3 million. He's cheaper than Benrahma. He's cheaper than Rafinha. So Watford have already got 2 games under their belt. Both of their wins have come in games that Sarr has scored in. So Sarr is an alternative to Rafinha, and he's someone worth keeping an eye on, but only for this week. In the next 9 game weeks, 6 of their fixtures are rated a difficulty of 4. Liverpool, Everton, Arsenal, United, Chelsea and City. I'm going to give you 2 options up top this week that aren't the regulars, that aren't the Ronaldos and Kakus. They're obvious. The 2 forwards I'm going to recommend this week. The first one I'm going to start with someone that could be a bring into your squad, leave him there, and it's someone that I recommended previously. It's taken him a couple of extra game weeks to get his goal, but now he's got his goal. I think his confidence will be running high. The goal meant a lot to him. You can see that if you watch the fixture at the weekend, and that is going to be Raul Jimenez of Wolves. He picked up 8 points scoring against Southampton last week when he got that goal, and this week he plays Newcastle. Newcastle are down in 17th, having conceded 14 goals in the last 6 fixtures, and they've not won a game yet. Raul Jimenez can expose this defence and get even more goals, and then even after that, he's got Aston Villa, Leeds, Everton and Palace. These games are rated 3 or 2 fixture difficulty. Keep an eye on this man, because I do think he can keep scoring, and now that he's got his first of the season, he's going to be hungry for more. He's the 5th most threatening striker in the Fantasy Premier League at the moment, and the 2nd most creative. Next up is the long shot. I always give you guys someone like this if you're chasing points or you're trying to catch someone up in your mini league, and that's what this player is. That's going to be Chris Wood of Burnley. Now, we've already spoke about his opponents, and I would only recommend bringing him in if you're going to wildcard in game week 8. If you're not going to wildcard, don't bring this man in, because it just means you're going to be shipping him out next week. Chris Wood has Norwich. We've already discussed how they've conceded 16 in the last 6 game weeks. They've not picked up a single point. They've lost all 6 of their games, and that doesn't look like it's changing anytime soon. And if someone scores for Burnley, it tends to be this man. So guys, that's all we've got time for this week. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, click subscribe, and let me know in the comments who you would have put in your spotlight or who you're planning on transferring in this week. Until next time, good luck this week and take care.